Welcome back, everyone. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, the meme review, software releases, hardware releases, websites by plebes or plebs. Drop us a like, subscribe. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 694,081. The Bitcoin price, 38,380. Chain rewrite days, ooh, it's magical. Chain rewrite days, 1,066. And total public Lightning capacity, 2,141, right on the dot. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.10%. Sats per dollar, 2,606. Nothing special. You know, we're holding steady.
Just another day consolidating. But,
right.
Man, just good numbers. There's nothing, really, no observations. Anyways, Phil, let's move on to...
the daily fail. All right, everyone. Normally, we'd be, obviously dumping on this because it's shitcoining, but this actually has a little bit of a different message to it, okay? NFT game developer scammed out of $1 million of NFTs and Ethereum. So let's dive into this a little bit here, okay? What happened? The developer who used the pseudonym Stasi revealed in a tweet on Saturday that he was scammed out of 16 shitcoin NFTs along with a bunch of shitcoin, according to a report from Decrypt. He says the scammer posted a chance to win 10 hard-to-find NFT avatars on CryptoPunk's Discord server. The poster used the name CryptoPunk's bot and indicates the offer was being made to celebrate the project's 4-year anniversary. This is where it gets good, and don't get me wrong, this is how we get tricked. Sometimes, it's really late at night. Who knows? Maybe you're ripped. Maybe you're not paying attention. Stasi attempted to win the NFTs and logged onto a bogus website and entered his 12-word seed phrase. Go. And you're done. After being falsely notified the security of his MetaMask wallet has been compromised, after sending the phrase to the scammer, the NFTs and ETH were quickly removed from Stasi's wallet. Now, when I was a shitcoiner, something similar happened to me. And no joke, I didn't even think twice. It was one of those things where it's like, hey, it's like just put in your, just put in your address and, we'll send you, so that you could prove that you have so and so much shitcoin and we'll send you back 2,000 of these. And I'm like, yeah, why not? There's nothing wrong with doing that, Then you get prompted and then they prompt you again, when you go to put in your address telling you that there's something wrong. And then usually they'll be like, why don't you put in your 12, your seed phrase? And sometimes people don't think. I know I didn't. And I kid you not, the next morning I woke up and I realized what I had done. But anyways, it's just, look, it's a lesson. You got to be really careful. He didn't think twice. He's a game developer. So it's just rough, so...
You know what? It's a very good case study. And I just want to emphasize, guys, those seed words are your life. Okay, if anyone gets a hold of them, right, your stuff is gone. Right, it's just gone. It's gonna go poof. Right. So those 12 words, those 24 words, depending on which format you use, right, they should never touch the internet. They should not be on a digital device. In fact, you should just write them down. Preferably, you should put them in steel and put them in a very safe place. And the only place you're going to put those 24 words into are hardware wallets. Period. Why? Because hardware wallets are literally disconnected from the internet, right? So yeah, man, it's a good lesson, man. And it just happens so quick. And those scams are literally designed in a way where they trick you. They make you feel as if you need to put your 24-word, 12 words in because you're doing something wrong, right? It's like these scammers have thought of everything to literally take your Bitcoin away from you. That's just how it is, and it happens so quick, But again, Phil, I'm sure that was an expensive price of tuition, but I bet you he's not going to do it anymore.
No, look, it's painful, right? And I definitely did not want to have to go through that myself. But as I was reading through that, I kind of laughed because I'm like, you know what? Greed gets the better of you sometimes. And you just, you know what? You just go for it, and it only takes once. It should only take once. It should take no times. But if it takes any times, once should be enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, it's a very, very, very good case study. And I feel bad. I bet you he should stop shitcoining while he's at it. But anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, everybody. The meme for today is brought to us by a fellow plebe. You go follow him at CDCM99. Definitely, man, this guy has some awesome memes. I definitely... Hold on. Volcano Bitcoin Mining Cyber Hornet Commando 2016. Yes, bro. Yes.
It's quite the profile there.
Man, that. And I understood everything. We're synchronized, me and him. Okay, anyways, let's check out the meme. Someone comes to me with the problem. My brain. Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Don't say it, don't say it. Bitcoin.
Because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
They don't, but it's so true, dude. We even have problems with this, Phil. Remember the other day we're like talking about the plug and we're like, Bitcoin fixes this. No, it doesn't, but we wanted to say it anyways.
True,
it's true. Bitcoin fixes most things, you know? So it's just, you know, it's disappointing. Anyways, it's disappointing when you can't say Bitcoin doesn't fix it. Anyways, I'm gonna shut up. For that meme, I'm gonna give it a roll of half-used toilet paper. Woo! What about you, Phil?
It's way more than half used.
3/4 used?
Yeah, like maybe even like 90%, I'd say. But it doesn't matter. That's a commendable score. I don't think we've given TP yet as a score, so that's pretty awesome. Look, I love the meme. I thought it was great. Totally realistic. That's how I feel in most conversations, and I know that I'm ruining everyone's day when I bring it up. And you know what? For that, I am giving it empty bag of big chewy nerds. Who doesn't like big chewy nerds?
Dude, that meme got some redonkulous scores, man.
Fire.
Toilet paper and an empty bag of nerds? Anyways, guys.
We're experts. We're experts.
Of course.
Right?
These are all...
credentialized. Credentials.
We've studied the scores for years just to get to this point.
Our formulas have formulas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Anyways, guys, do you agree with our scores? We want to know. Rate the meme down in the comments and join our Telegram group. Link us some memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The Daily News, sponsored by
Crypto Cloaks.
And before starting at the SEC, I was honored, as Anya said, teaching about the intersection of finance and technology at MIT. This included courses in these various topics. And in that work, I came to believe that though there was a lot of hype masquerading as reality in the crypto field, Nakamoto's innovation is real. And some in the public sector would say, well, no, almost like wishing it away. I really do think there's something real about the distributed ledger technology, moving value on the internet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Gary Gensler, and he is the chair of the SEC, and he just called Satoshi Nakamoto's innovation, Bitcoin, of course, ridiculous, in a good way. Anyways, he goes on to say, right, and this all happened, by the way, on the heels of essentially the defeat of the sneaky passage that the Treasury tried to include in the infrastructure bill. It looks like our ruckus, right, and shout out to Coin Center, of course, had enough influence over these senators. This is an article from Bitcoin Magazine. U.S. infrastructure bill author promises Bitcoin miners and coders will be exempt, right? But it goes even further than that. Bitcoin and shitcoin rules in infrastructure bill eyed for, this is the important part, bipartisan rewrite. Senators, we reported this the other day, Senators Ron Wyden and Pat Toomey are drafting a proposal to overhaul a Bitcoin and shitcoin provision in the $550 billion bipartisan infrastructure bill that traders and investors have criticized as being overly broad and practical, because it totally was. We've gone over that, right? But as Phil said, right, they are going to try again. Now, do I think it's a coincidence that Mr. Gary Gensler comes out with, hey guys, we need some regulation, when we successfully defeated the crypto bullshit tax thing in the infrastructure bill. You know what? It might be a coincidence, but there's no coincidence. There's no conspiracies. Okay, anyways, moving on. This is what Gary said today. If Bitcoin and shitcoin is going to be widely adopted, it needs some rules of the road. It already has rules. And a cop on the beat to enforce them. To be clear, I am technology neutral. I'm not neutral about investor protection. Again, they don't really care about investor protection. They care about power and control, right? And before I shut up, Phil, this is why Bitcoin politicians, we need to have as many on our corner as possible. This is Aarika Rhodes. She is running against Brad Sherman in California, the guy that called for an all-right ban on Bitcoin.
To join with me in introducing a bill to outlaw cryptocurrency purchases by Americans.
She's running against him. We have to support her in the ways of engagement, like her tweets, whatever, because we need to have as many Bitcoiners in Congress so that if Treasury tries to sneak it in, right, we have some people on our corner. Bitcoin has gone to a size where it is no longer flying under the radar. We don't have that luxury anymore, right? We have to stand up and fight, make a ruckus, support the proper politicians. If all else fails, we could always just, rely on our nodes and our self-custody, right? But we don't want it. We don't want it to get to that point. And man, this Gary guy, he basically said, Phil, right? He says, "Listen, U.S. government, Bitcoin is here to stay, but I'm gonna keep my eye out on those shit coins because a lot of them are securities, baby. They're not gonna fly over under that radar for that long, right?" Anyways, Phil.
So you understood what he kept repeating, right? Investor protection. This is their new narrative, right? Like that's exactly what he's pulling out. The SEC is here to protect the investors. And when I think of the SEC protecting the investors, I think about the .com bubble and the crash. Where was the SEC for that? Where was the SEC for the mortgage crisis? Right? Like where were they protecting all of those investors? It's just a load of crap. Like there are so many stocks that have been absolute scams that have completely flopped and investors have lost millions. And it's just, look, it's complete nonsense. Okay. It's like we said, the regulations and all of these bodies, they are all there to be used as tools by the people who have the means to use them. And the rest of us simply just get abused by them. And that's exactly what it is. Like, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there aren't scammers out there, but do we actually know that we need anything from this particular governing body, right? Like from the SEC? I don't think so. I don't think that the SEC needs to meddle in Bitcoin at all. But when it comes to absolute scams, right, where there is obviously it's a completely, a token minted out of absolutely nothing. There is zero money that went into it. There is zero value, zero work that went into it. It simply just exists. And then they come along and it gets rug pulled. Yeah, I do think those scams, they need to be regulated. More importantly, they need to not exist. But of course, human greed, right, makes it so that they will always exist in some form or other.
And he says that, Phil. Do you mind reading that?
Oh, there's a lot of hype masquerading as reality in the crypto field. Nakamoto's invention is real. And he's absolutely right. Nakamoto's invention is real. But the rest of that stuff is just absolute garbage. And none of it needs to be money. And I know that people are going to sit there and, you don't agree with it. Well, too frickin' bad. I didn't agree with it either a couple of years ago. And the more research I did, the more I realized that nothing that is issued by a central body is going to become or compete with Bitcoin.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think that I think that the gig is up. I think that was I wrong to assume that it's connected with the sneaky attack by the Treasury, it failing? Was I wrong to assume that perhaps the Treasury tapped on the SEC now?
Oh, no. Listen, you're absolutely right. Like, man, they are shaking the tree. 100%. That's exactly what they're doing, is shaking the tree. And they're checking to see, what falls and what they can do, right? This is exactly what's happening. And again, this is what we've said in the past. we're really in the throes of the beginning of the then they fight you stage. And they're definitely worried, and they understand that they have no control over Bitcoin, and they understand that they don't provide any value in this space. So either they need to fool everyone, or they join in and actually provide value. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to, because it was very important, I just wanted to read some passages from the SEC announcement by Gary today, right? Just to kind of give you an idea of what's to come, guys, regulatory wise. We also, to quote the announcement, we also haven't seen Bitcoin and shitcoins used much as a medium of exchange. This is exactly mirroring the same words that the Fed has said.
But let me say, though, with cryptocurrencies, it's not that they didn't aspire to be a payment mechanism. It's that they've completely failed to become one, except for people who desire anonymity, of course.
The same words. Anyways, to the extent that it is used such, it's often to skirt our laws with respect to anti-money laundering. That's exactly what the Fed said. It failed as a payment instrument. It's only used to avoid taxes and whatever, right? So it's the same wording, right? There's a combined front by the government. Make no mistake, it doesn't matter whether it's a stock token, a stable value token backed by securities, or any virtual product that provides synthetic exposure to underlying securities. These products are subject to security laws and must work within our securities regime. Next, I would like to discuss Bitcoin and trading platforms, lending platforms, and other, quote, decentralized finance platforms. The world of Bitcoin and shitcoin finance now has platforms where people can trade tokens and other venues where people can lend tokens. I believe these platforms not only can implement the securities laws, some platforms also can implement the commodities law and banking laws, right? So he goes on to mention stable coins. He also says that stable coins are a way essentially to circumvent the laws. So what's happening here, guys, is they're going after the non-decentralized systems. Why? Because they can. Because they're the government. Only Bitcoin could successfully withstand a nation-state attack. And we have Gary essentially admitting that right now. But he's also saying all the other low-hanging fruit that pose themselves as decentralized finance, as DeFi, man, they're going to go after that hard. Why? Because they can. With Bitcoin, the reason they can't go after it is because they literally can't. It's that simple. We've been telling you guys for months. Phil?
Yeah, this is utter nonsense. I hate that they always try to pull this crap with the money laundering and everything. Okay, so look, when you're going to go, let's say you decide to go and pull out all your Bitcoin. Okay, let's say you decide for whatever reason you're going to sell your Bitcoin and turn it into crappy fiat. Well, what do you think? What do you think happens when that hits your bank account? Right? Like all of a sudden, that just became income. There's no evading those taxes. At some point, if you begin to spend this, okay, on things like a house, a car, any of these things, okay, especially a house, they're going to look for income records. You're going to have to show all of these numbers. This is such nonsense that they try to pretend like you can evade. You're not evading anything, okay? One of the main reasons why we have Bitcoin is because you can't touch it. Your greedy hands, you can't fucking touch it. That's it. You know, it's not like all those other things. It's not like the stocks that you can go and make disappear. It's not like the money in my account that you can freeze. You can't do shit to it. And that's why we store our value in it. Because it's not yours. Like, this is what they don't get.
Nope.
I honestly, I find it so freaking pathetic that they always try to pull that money laundering crap. It's like, look, if you're going to, like I just said, if you're going to go pull out Bitcoin, you're going to have to show it as income if you're going to use it to buy something major. Like, there's no hiding that. That's why they're the gatekeepers. That's such disingenuous shit, you know?
And they pose, of course, as we're protecting the investor. Bitcoin has worked 12 years perfectly fine without a need for a regulatory body. That is literally why Bitcoin exists, right? It doesn't need humans. It operates on its own. But anyways, Phil, moving on to some bullish news, right? And this, again, it's a follow-up of what we've been saying. It's the game of incentives, right? Bitcoin ATM operator LibertyX is being acquired by a Fortune 500 company. Why is this happening? Because you can no longer ignore the incentives that come with Bitcoin. But it's not only Fortune 500 company. I mean, it's also another Fortune 500 company, Wells Fargo, just started offering Bitcoin and shitcoin exposure to wealthy clients. Its president told us why the firm changed its mind on Bitcoin and shitcoins. Check this out, guys, and shared the key merits and risks of the ininvestable asset. So, can I tell you why, Phil, though? Can I tell you why Wells Fargo cannot avoid the honey badger? And can I tell you why this other Fortune 500 company cannot avoid the honey badger? We've been talking about this for a very long time. That is the incentives. These companies are seeing exactly what the success that Square has found, selling only Bitcoin, I might add, right? They took a very different price than Coinbase. Coinbase is like, oh, we need to expand our revenue. Well, Cash App totally destroyed that narrative, right? Jack did it right. And anyways, let's check this out. $546 million of gross profit is coming for Square is coming solely from Cash App. So about 50% of their profit for Square, right, the publicly traded company, is coming from Cash App. And where is that profit coming from? Selling Bitcoin. Right? All these other public companies see this as well, right? That's why PayPal enabled withdrawals. That's why PayPal enabled Bitcoin purchases. At first, the CEO was like, no, we can't have that. We saw the same thing with Jamie Dimon. He did the same thing. He's like, if any of my employees buy Bitcoin, I hear about it, I'm going to fire them. 2 years later, they're offering Bitcoin to their clients. Why? Because you cannot, whatever your ideology or your personal beliefs, right? At the end of the day, you're the executive of a public company, right? That means that the shareholders, you literally have to do good with your shareholders. And if your shareholders are seeing other companies just racking in all that profit from selling Bitcoin to people that want freedom, guess what? You're going to have to offer the same thing, and you're going to have to bite your tongue, whatever your thoughts are, and you're going to have to offer it. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And man, this is just going to keep on happening. The incentives of Bitcoin are too great. And I suspect more public companies and more countries to follow suit. Phil?
Yeah, one by one, they all bend the knee. But I also find it really funny with Wells Fargo. I find it like the really big type of like banks and the investment houses that create these, investment packages in Bitcoin for their wealthy clients and stuff like that. I find that stuff absolutely amusing because I have no idea what they're actually doing. Like, is it anything like what I'm doing on Cash App where I just go and I buy it? Like, I don't see how, I don't see what value they're actually offering. Like, pretty much, like, to me, it just means that the person, like, has no computer, or most likely doesn't have a smartphone. Or most likely doesn't have either, and it's like these ancient people that just don't have any technology. That to me is the only customer that is going to pay fees to have their quote unquote Bitcoin managed. I mean, by them anyways, No,
it's 100% true. Right? And I love how they say actively managed. They offer an actively. What does that mean? Are you just gonna?
What are they actively doing?
They're checking the pub files to make sure they're accurate and stuff.
He goes, you know what? They go on Twitter. They go on Bitcoin Twitter. They scroll through. They're like, yeah, we're good. These guys are all still bullish. We're good.
Can you imagine what that means? What is actively managed? It's just like a dude on his cell. Twitter's good.
Exactly. You know what he does? No, you know what he does? He checks the Block Explorer, and every 10 minutes he's like, all right, we're good.
It's so, man, but they're
grinding it out, man. He's getting those dollars.
Eventually, dude, people are gonna wise up and they're gonna realize that they don't need these people anymore. They're obsolete, right? I don't think they've come to terms with that yet.
No.
We'll see what happens. We'll stay on top of it. Yeah. But anyways, Phil, there was a software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. All right, we've got Joinmarket version 0.9.0 that was released, and that is a mixing service. The details to that are down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Forgive the connection issues. Sometimes this happens. Zoom sucks. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing all the catastrophic fiat and shitcoin fails and the Bitcoin news from the perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
They don't get to win.